Hello and welcome back to D&D WTF Episode 3. This one I'm just calling the train ambush. So after the contract negotiations, the group was nearing their destination at Alusi. Everyone was settling in and making plans for what to do when they arrived at this port city. This, however, is cut short as the train comes to an abrupt stop as the tracks up ahead have been sabotaged. First to notice something has gone wrong at this point is Goldman, who, while drinking a glass of very fine scotch, has several bullets fly through his window. Everyone is hitting the deck at this point, as even cannons are fired and are hitting off the armored hull of the train car. And its hull is holding, but is taking some pretty good dents. So after a few volleys, the firing stops, and the party looks out to see an ambush is being led by some men in some very old, kind of antique military uniforms from Anjou Nuis, which is the rival country on their northern border. But more peculiar rather than this is not only are they wearing these outdated uniforms, but there are trolls fighting with them for some reason. So from the outside, they hear a voice yelling out for their surrender. And after a talk amongst themselves for a few moments, the party decides Goldman should go out and try to parley with them. But Lord Vanderhart insists that Torag should go with him just for safety's sake. Now, Goldman has arranged for a table to be brought out and drinks to be set out and like this nice proper sit down, like, Civil War general style underneath like an umbrella, as they're drinking their alcohol. And this commander is just sitting across from him and introduces himself as a noble named Jacques, whose family lands were taken from him by Pelopavance about 50 years ago at the end of their war. So he reads out this list of grievances and demands, but basically he just wants to take Lord Vanderhart as a hostage and just get the return of his land. So Goldman patiently sits here and is listening to all this. And he tries to negotiate a settlement, but after realizing this man will not relent on his demands, he makes an interesting play. He decides to start prodding the troll chieftain, who is there, and he starts asking him why he's following them, to which the troll just replies that they promised to help them get their lands back too. So Goldman then says that they haven't mentioned getting the troll's land back at all, and infers that these guys are just using him like the humans that took their land before. Now, mind you, he has to make a series of really good diplomacy rolls, and he does. And by the end of it, this troll chieftain is believing that these rebels just basically want to have them do all the dying, and that they'll just betray them in the end anyway. This starts an argument between the chieftain and Jacques, and before long, things have spiraled out of control, as I even roll some diplomacy for Jacques, who's utterly failing with this. And this chieftain just lets out a war cry to his fellow trolls, and they just go berserk, turning on their former allies. So as Jacques is trying to calm things down and get the chieftain to stop, Goldman just stands up from the table and belts him across the face with his mace, sending him just sprawling across the ground. And then just turns and just runs back towards the train car as Torag is fighting off soldiers that are now moving in. So the trolls are absolutely shredding these guys. And this chieftain just picks up Jacques and just yeets him a good 30 feet, across the battlefield, before turning to Goldman, just eyes crazed, frothing at the mouth. And Goldman is trying to calm him down, but the chieftain just doesn't trust any humans now, and Goldman's luck has run out. So he goes straight for the kill. Goldman now decides he's just going to book it. He just books it back to the train towards Torag, who's now backed up to the entrance of the train, along with some royal guards, holding the entrance against attack. So Goldman gets almost to the train car right as this chieftain just gets right behind him and gives him this basically love tap that sends him flying past Torag and into the train car. So there's like a pretty fierce battle that's ensuing, and Alice is attempting to like throw a grenade. The troll's trying to get in. Her grenade like bounces off the troll and comes back in the train car, and everyone has to like hit the fucking deck because it's going crazy. And Torag basically just steps into the way, and he's like, "All right, time for a fair fight here." And he goes mano a mano with this troll, and Torag's a little bit bloodied at this point, but true to form, he does not give up. He just goes straight for this troll, and they duke it out. Troll's at a disadvantage. He's crouching to try and get through this doorway, and Torag he takes a couple of good hits, gets a couple of good rolls, and in the end, this troll misses like 3 attacks in a row, and then Torag just proceeds to crit and decapitate this troll war chief halfway through the train car door, just like sending its head like tumbling down into the train car. About this time, as they look out, like the attackers have been pretty much decimated. There's a few that look like they're gathering for maybe like a counterattack, but that's about it. So they see Jacques is way off in the distance, like just trying to make a run for it at this point. And Alice and Ray both take pot shots at him, dropping him to the ground as he was kind of like limping away. He just drops. Torag, now feeling the blood rage himself, and also he has a bit of a disdain for kind of hoity-toity nobles, charges out from the train car, just full steam ahead towards this poor downed nobleman, charges over to him ahead of everyone, kicks him over onto his back, stands over him, and basically just says, "Any last words?" The guy goes to give his last words, and Torag just says, "Nope, JK, just kidding," and fucking shish kebabs him right there in the middle of the battlefield. Then as soon as he pulls his sword out, he just starts sorting through him. What loot do you have here? What do we got? So, about that time, the rest of the party's kind of closing in and getting closer, but for the most part, like only Goldman and a couple others are venturing too far out. But what remained of the rebels staged a small counterattack from horseback, and they managed to actually wound Goldman, who was trying to defend kind of the rest of the group. But all in all, thanks to Goldman's quick thinking, he turned a potential hostage situation into just a big old massacre. Missed that guy.